To the latest now on that ongoing conflict between Israel and Iran. Today, the head of the Iranian army sending a warning this afternoon to people in Haifa and Tel Aviv. Leave now, as more attacks are coming, calling it a punitive operation. Adding that thousands of missiles launched into Israel so far have been just warnings. That warning comes as President Trump calls for Iran's unconditional surrender, calling the Iranian supreme ruler, who is in hiding, an easy target. Tensions high all over the world tonight. We're going to have a report from Tel Aviv in just a moment, but first up, Sandra Bookman in the newsroom with more on the back and forth bombings. Sandra.
Yeah, Mike, those aerial attacks between Israel and Iran are continuing as we speak, marking a fifth day of strikes. Now, despite saying that the U.S. would not intervene directly in this conflict, you pointed out President Trump ratcheted up the rhetoric. On social media, he called Iran's leader an easy target, and he urged Iran's unconditional surrender. Just hours after his sudden return from the G7 summit in Canada, President Trump and his national security team huddled behind closed doors in the Situation Room. The president cut his trip short to focus on the escalating conflict between Israel and Iran, explaining it's easier to do that from home.
Not having to use telephones so much because I don't believe in telephones. There's people like you listen to them, you know. So being on the scene is much better.
Mr. Trump returned to try one last time to strike a nuclear deal with Iran. Negotiations came to a standstill last week when Israel attacked Iran's nuclear facilities, launching the back and forth of punishing airstrikes that have crippled Iran's defense capabilities and killed hundreds of civilians. And as Mr. Trump announced his return, he posted this warning on social media, urging everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. Highways leaving Iran's capital city, population 10 million, were gridlocked with traffic. And while the president later softened his tone, he also doubled down on his desire to have the conflict end, full stop, instead of calling for just a ceasefire.
An end, a real end, not a ceasefire, an end.
So something that will be permanent.
Yeah, or giving up entirely. That's okay too.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday told ABC's John Karl that he's not ruling out killing Iran's supreme leader to achieve that goal.
Look, we're doing what we need to do. I'm not going to get into the details. It's not going to escalate the conflict. It's going to end the conflict.
Today, this grim warning from President Trump to Iran's supreme leader via social media, saying he knows where the supreme Ayatollah is hiding and writing, "We are not going to take him out, at least for now." After 5 days of strikes, Israel believes it has done significant damage to Iran's nuclear program and might be able to strike a permanent blow with American help. Now, the U.S. has already repositioned warships and military aircraft in the region to respond if the conflict further escalates. Question is, does the American public have the appetite for a more direct role? Sade?
We shall certainly see. Okay, Sandra, thank you. Well, many living in Israel who endured hours of air raid sirens last night are looking to make their way out, as you just saw in Sandra's piece. ABC News correspondent Marcus Moore has more from the ground in Tel Aviv tonight.
Hi, Sade and Mike. Another tense night here in Tel Aviv and across the Middle East, where Israel has carried out more strikes in Iran today, targeting the country's missile launchers and ballistic missile capabilities. And they also targeted key members of Iran's military, claiming that a top commander was killed. This is all a part of Israel's continued operation in Iran, they said, to eliminate an existential threat. And we're watching all of the developments that have come since then, and Iran retaliating. And there have already been numerous instances today where the air raid sirens have sounded. Israeli officials saying that projectiles have been fired from Iran, and some of those locations, or the areas targeted, are in the north of Israel in Haifa. And we know that Iran has targeted the intelligence headquarters here in Israel, as well as other military sites. And one of Israel's top leaders said that there's more coming, saying that a punitive punishment will be coming in the days ahead. And they also have made the point that the previous operations that we have seen here, they said, have been more of a deterrent. And Sade and Mike, as you know, Iran has said that that what they have gone through was an unprovoked attack, and that they are only retaliating for that. And so as we talk about these latest developments, the death toll, the casualty numbers have continued to rise. We've heard from the health ministry in Iran saying that more than 220 people have died in Israeli airstrikes since they began on Friday night. And here in Israel, the casualty numbers have increased as well, with at least 24 people killed in Iranian strikes. And at this point, Sade and Mike, there seems to be no end in sight.